Hey guys, it's Andy. This is my kitchen. Isn't it exciting? That's actually a window into my bedroom. The bedroom was added after the house was built, and so we can throw things to each other in bed as if we would ever do that. Anyway, so Nancy had a great suggestion yesterday, and she suggested that I come in and talk to you guys a little bit about the ghosts in Charlotte and the 12. Ghost is a hard word for me to say. Interesting. Um, and so I thought I would do that because I think sometimes people are hesitant about reading the book because it has ghosts in it. And the reality is, like, yeah, they're there. There's just no doubt about it. They are the disembodied spirits of people who were alive. They are just like the classic definitions of ghosts. So, but I think one thing that's important to make sure people know is that they're not scary. I mean, this is not a haunting book. This is in the sense of like a poltergeist or something like that. They're not, it's not a scary book. And the ghosts are doing really important work. They're doing really important work in the story. So they are the spirits of African American people that were killed because of race related violence. And so in Steel Secrets, it's a ghost of a man named Moses. I won't give it away if you haven't read the book, but he's killed because of race related violence. And then in this book, of course, it's Charlotte and the 12 children who are killed again because of race related violence. And you can't hear me. Okay, let me try putting headphones on. Nancy, will you make sure you comment and let me know if you can hear me now? There's probably static as I put these headphones in. So, um, so Nancy, let me know if you can hear me. If you guys can't hear me, then I'll start over again. But yeah, so the ghosts in the book are not scary in either book, and they're not meant to be. They're not intimidating. They're not trying to frighten people. They're not even really active in the sense that there's sometimes ghost stories where people are trying to oh good, thanks Michelle, are trying to do something like teach people a lesson or something, and these ghosts aren't like that. They're just passive. They are in a place, and it's Mary's visit to them that engages them. They don't go out and try to engage with other people. So I think that's important for readers to know. First of all, they're not scary. Oh, good. I'm glad you can hear me, Nancy. So they're not scary. They're not out to get people or any of those things. What they are symbols of, and I use this language loosely because I didn't set out to make them symbolic in some way. And they're not symbolic in that they are fleshed out, ironically, characters. I mean, they have personalities and they do things. So they're not innate, they're not apathetic, but they are symbolic of the legacy of racism. They act as a way of showing that the things that happen because of racism linger for a long time. They linger until we deal with them. And that's kind of the whole point. So that is why they are there. Now, in case anybody's curious, I have no idea what I think actually about ghosts in the world. Like, nothing. I'm interested in the concept, partially because I study history and because I've been to places where history feels very present. Hi, Stephanie. Where there's a different kind of energy. I even feel hokey saying that, but for example, Gettysburg, the Gettysburg battlefield, it's a hard place for me to go. It's psychologically hard because of how many people were killed there and because of the legacy of the Civil War. But it's also sort of just hard for me physically because I don't know. It feels sad to me. It feels, yeah, profoundly broken. I'm not going to say dark because I don't think it doesn't feel evil, although I believe in evil. That's not what I mean. And I don't know if you guys have had that experience, give me a like or something so that you know what I mean. But I don't necessarily believe that ghosts are demons, which the Christian church, some traditions teach. And that's not to say I don't believe in demons or I don't believe in evil. I just don't know that ghosts are that. And I don't know that science is giving us a lot of information about what ghosts are. So I really don't, yeah, it is overwhelming. Yeah, Stephanie, I'm kind of glad you haven't been there, but it's a powerful thing when you have been there. Yeah, okay, good. So you guys know what I'm talking about. So in that sense, if that's what ghosts are, or if we're talking about the way energy lingers in a place, like there've just been recently a couple studies that have shown that literally like our magnetic energy gets imprinted on the places that we are. I feel like that, in that sense, that's people haunting that place. Like, I mean, in our house here, this 200-year-old farmhouse, I feel like it's a really safe place. And everyone who comes here says it's cozy and comfortable. And I think that's a product of the goodness that has lived in this house for 200 years, maybe. I say that with a little hesitation because, of course, people were enslaved here. And so there was a lot of darkness and not goodness here, which occasionally I do feel in certain places. Like sometimes my office just doesn't feel awesome. But that was where an enslaved woman cooked. So that's the kind of sense I have of ghosts in my real life. But if you start asking me about my faith and how that relates to ghosts, I really honestly can't figure that out. I don't know. I don't know enough about end times and what happens after death. Yeah, so Stephanie, you sort of think the same way I do. So I don't have an answer for that. So if someone is interested in the book and wants to know, you can honestly just tell them Andy has no idea. That this is a book that is a fiction and that she's drawing from the resources that she has to sort of tell that story. And part of the reason I think ghosts are powerful as tools for telling these stories is because it is really hard. It's really hard for people to deal with racism in embodied people. I mean, we want to think of, say, even the civil rights era of the 1960s as so long ago. But, I mean, I was born 6 years after Martin Luther King was killed. And I'm 42 years old. Yeah, Andy has no idea. I have no idea, Stephanie. I have no idea about a lot of things. If you just need me to say that a lot, I will. But we tend to put racism back in a category that it feels ancient, even though obviously it's still ongoing now, and even something like the civil rights era was not that long ago. So in this book, my hope was that the ghost would sort of show the legacy of racism, but also sort of remind people, because Micah and Darren are still alive, that this is lived history. This is what people have actually experienced. Yeah, that's a good answer. You haven't seen one, so there you go. And I think ghosts work really well here because, again, they work sort of as a symbolic representation of what happens when we actually face our history and deal with it honestly. So I don't want to give away the end of the book. So that's all I'll say there. So, but if you are curious, I mean, the reason I wrote this book is that, the reason this idea for this book came to me was that my father-in-law, when he was younger, I think he was a young teenager, thought he saw the ghost of an enslaved man in a cemetery in his hometown of Buena Vista. And Buena Vista is the inspiration for the town in Charlotte and the 12, the town of Terra Linda. And he and his best friend went up a mountain to cook a guinea hen that they had captured. And Brian, his best friend, went down the mountain to get something to help prepare the bird. I don't know, bags, pots, who knows what they needed as teenage boys to cook a wild bird. But while he was gone, my father-in-law, Galen, saw a figure. And he knew it to be a ghost. He couldn't really tell you why he knew, but he knew. And then he went running off screaming. Well, while he was running down screaming, Brian went back up the mountain. Hey, Lorenzo. And while he was there, he passed Galen on the way down. And then on the way up, he saw the same thing, the same figure. And So, hey, Elise. So that's where the story idea comes from, of seeing, that's where the idea of Moses came from, of seeing a ghost in a cemetery. And so I really wanted to use that story somehow. It's also very, ghosts have a huge tradition in Appalachian culture, which is where Buena Vista, and I do say it correctly, Michelle. It's not Buena Vista when you're in Virginia, it's Buena Vista. That tradition of ghost stories is really big in Appalachian history. In all kinds of ways. There's a history of Blowing Rock and two Native American lovers who kill themselves, sort of like the Native American Romeo and Juliet. There's a huge tradition of haunted lights and things in the mountains around here. And so it's a tradition that rings true to the place. So that was important to me too. So it's really about ghosts serving the purpose of the story well, rather than me having any statement to make about whether I believe ghosts are real or not. So hopefully, I don't know, does that help you guys? Do you have other ghosty questions? I've watched a lot of ghost shows. At one time I wanted to write a book about ghosts because I was interested in that sort of upsurge of ghost TV shows we had, Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, all those books that I kind of mentioned in the books, in Charlotte and the 12 and stuff. But I didn't feel great after I started researching that for so long. I think just dealing with death and the legacy of hard death, most ghosts, the traditions around ghosts don't happen because people hang around because they had an easy death. So that's kind of comes into the story. So I've read a lot of things about what ghosts are and how we find them and all those things. I don't do any of that. I mean, I've been in places where I feel like there are other presences with me, but who knows? It could be my imagination. That could be that energy stuff we were talking about. It could be a lot of things. So, but questions, guys. Anything you need to know? Anything you're concerned about? Anything anybody's asking you, or you think somebody might ask you about ghosts in the book, or anything about the book if you want. Oh yeah, you can say anything you want when you promote the book. Yeah, I mean, I think you can just tell people this isn't Andy. The author's not making a religious statement. She's not making a statement about what ghosts are or not. She's not making any kind of statement except something about history. So yeah, I would by all means tell people that. And honestly, and I say this truly with compassion, if they're that resistant to reading a book with ghosts in it, the book isn't for them. Because they are there, and that's the central storyline of the book. So maybe it's just not for them. But you're welcome to say, quote, share this video. I'm going to end up putting it on YouTube when we get off of here. So I'll post the link in the comments under this video in case you want to share it. You're more than welcome to do that. I need to look up I Love the Ghost of Mrs. Muir, Stephanie. I haven't seen that. And I'm glad you're excited to read the book. So, other questions? Things you need to know? All right, guys. Well, I'm around. You feel free. I actually have a fairly light schedule until book launch. Hallelujah. So feel free to post questions in the comments below this. PM me, email me, come to the farm and sit down and have a chat if you want. I really want to be able to be there for you as you need me. And you're most welcome, Nancy. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much for all you're doing. I'm really, really grateful. Have a great day. Bye.